Right, guys? Okay, so back with a little bit of a quandary today. Give a bit of background, learning a new song, and I want to put a little bit of whammy in. Now, I've not really used a whammy with the quad Cortex before. So that's a learning curve to start off with, because there's not a huge amount of details on the internet about it, but okay, so that's sorted. The problem being, though, is that I wanted to be able to, I use my volume pedal, my expression pedal, which I'll show you in a minute, I use it for volume gains, yeah, for lead breaks. You sometimes want to add a little bit of volume just to emphasize, almost like when the two guitars are doing a bit of back and forth each other. You don't want to be too out there, too loud. There's like two double leads, but you want to just add a little bit, yeah, to bring it in. So I use the volume pedal as almost like my volume boost. Problem is, though, where's the switch on a lot of the volume pedals that's out there at the top? So to get to that switch to do something else, to use it something else, in my instance, I've got to go to my full max volume. Okay, so let's just say I always want to use like a wah-wah in the middle of a song, not as a lead break, but just as an emphasis. I'd have to bang, chop in to use the same pedal, yeah. I'd have to go up to my full volume to then press the switch to then go into the wah-wah pedal. Does that make sense? So there was two issues with this. One, which was overcoming the volume issue, and two, using the whammy function on the same expression as I'm using it as the volume. Took a little bit working out, but this is how I did it. Okay, so this is my patch. So let me give you a little bit of a rundown on the patch here. I come in with my guitar on the N1. I'll explain what it's all about. I'm not going to go into the full patch itself. We'll be there for hours. But it comes in on line 1, gets my dirty tone, then carries on down to row 3. Yeah, row 3 has got a splitter here, which on the right hand for dirty channel, that splits off into the right, it goes down this, hits the volume pedal and goes out. I'm going to switch to my other scene now. Yeah, so basically goes down here, all this is off, hits the slot, goes down here, hits another volume pedal and out. Yeah, because I want to be able to control the volume, whether I got clean or whether I got dirty. Okay, right. So the first issue being is how to assign the volumes, because you can do it to both. I just copied and pasted it to there. Once you've done the one, you can do it to as many different ones as you want. So now it's not very intuitive on the on the Quad Cortex Control Center. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab the phone and we're going to go up close and personal with the QC. All right. Okay. So excuse the shakiness, guys. So click on my volume, and I'm going to go up to my 3 little dots. Yeah. And I'm going to go to a sound expression pedal. Right, okay, so first of all, on expression 1, I'm using the level. Yeah. I'm using the level. And click on assigned. There we are. And, oh, there's a strange. So for some reason, I've got minimum range set at 100 and the maximum range set at 83. That's strange. But keep that in your mind, because you're going to need to know that in a little while. Okay, guys? So minimum range at 100, maximum range at 83. Then we're going to go to expression 2. Expression 2, yeah, I'm using the bypass. and there's my settings. Yeah. So it's switch on is switch to switch. So I'm using the switch to switch it on and off all the time. I've left the invert range on. Switch delay 600. That's just a standard, I think it is. And the latch simulation with mine, I had to switch that on. Okay, so I'm using the Hotel Ampero Press 2. All right, so that's the volume. Okay, so you're asking yourself now, why the hell has he got it ass backwards? So, with most pedals, I was saying, you've got the latch at the front of the volume pedal, yeah? So what I've done is I've spun it round. So I hit the latch with my heel to almost knock off in this instance the volume control. Think of these here as the volume control rather than volume gain. All right, because as soon as I turn this off, what's going to happen to the volume? There's no control on it. It's going to go bang straight to 100%. Well, I want to go as my main rhythm tone. I want to go from there, from 83% up to, for my lead breaks, up to 100. Yeah. So as soon as I take these up and turn these off, it's going straight to 100. So I don't want to go to 100. Yeah. And then turn on whatever function. Could be a wah-wah, could be whammy, whatever. I'm using a whammy in this one. But what I want to try and do is I want to hit that latch and then have my function. So I've just spun the pedal around. So the heel, the heel is 100%, but the forward, when you would normally rock it forward, is 83. So when I spin it around, then it gives me that volume. So basically, let me see if I can show you. Yeah, I'm going like that. So I'm pushing the pedal down. Yeah, bringing that up. That's my latch side. Yeah, let me show you around for you. So then it's flat. When I go to do my boost, volume boost, I'm going like that. I'm pushing it forward. I know it sounds a bit weird, take a little bit getting used to, but it works. There's the, let's see if we can see. Let me see if I can try. To be honest, these are not the best. You would think that these are good for doing this kind of thing with an expression pedal with the angled ones, but I need to get to just normal ones that are coming straight. So there's there's my expression. So I've got expression 1 going into the expression, which is 1, and my expression 2 going into my latch, my foot switch. You see that? Okay, so that overcomes one issue of the volume and then the effect coming in. But the problem being is, now, I absolutely love the Quad Cortex because of scenes. Scenes is amazing. They have captured, so essentially, I was even showing people that essentially you can assign different parameters within the EQ. So many different parameters you can assign to scenes. What's the one damn thing you can't assign to scenes? The volume. When I right click, oh, you can't see, it's just out of screen, but when I right click on it, let me see if I can bring it in for you. When I right click on this here, it's not doing anything. But if I did it on any other part, yeah, assign the scenes. Any other field, assign the scenes. Volume utility? No. Why? Neural, please, please. This will be a lot easier if you enable the volume to be able to assign to scenes. Anyway, back to it. So, I know I'm rambling on, guys. So, this comes to the next issue of the how to use the whammy. Yeah. So, this is how I've got it set up. I'm not going to enable it yet, right? I'll explain why in a minute. So I've got, so the mix and the blend, 100%. Because what I want is, I want just to take the single note and just whoop, right up high. I don't want to have a blend of my original note. If that was the case, I would stick with these both at 50. Yeah. So I'm using both at 100, so I'm just taking the original one. I don't know why. I don't know why it's got pitch 1 and pitch 1 and toe and heel pitch 1 here, and heel pitch 2. For some reason, this didn't work with when it was on pitch 1. Yeah, so I've used pitch 2. I don't know why. I didn't even think I knew what I was talking about with this Cortex stuff. But anyway, this is how I've done it. Yeah. So again, remember, I'm spinning my expression pedal round, so I had to assign the heel. Remember, I'm going down to heel as my pitch, so 12 semitones above, and my toe, which is normally rock forward, which is normally 100%, as my starting point, so it's on 0. Okay, so I'll show you all working in a second. So what I wanted to try and do was enable this in the same way that I did the volume pedal. So when I clicked on the latch, what it would do was it would turn these two off, but then what it would do is switch this one on. Great stuff. What I do then is I assign the pedal function part to, I'll show you on screen in a minute, in a second, but I assign my pedal function to be the expression, yeah, from 0 to 100, because I'm going from my original note up to the 12 semitones, yeah, and the latch to turn, as it turns the volumes off, it then turns at the same time the whammy on. What will happen then, right? Imagine this as I would describe it as like a water line. You got all your water pressure coming in here, yeah? It goes down, hits this one, it gets diverted off onto this line where the whammy is. That's enabled, but these are turned off. So what am I going to have? I'm going to have 100% of my volume or water line pressure go straight down. So as soon as I turn on this whammy, I'm going to have a bang, a boost in volume. This turning it around business has that makes it null and void net. So it's basically that's not going to work. So I thought, right, what I'm going to try and do is, as I switch on these, I want to try and almost put a barricade up in that water pressure to bring it back down to the same time as when those volume controls switch off. Simple EQ. So all I've done is I've used the parametric EQ here. I've left all the parametric EQ as, but what I've done is I've put as soon as I switch on this here, this deducts 5.7 dB, which is the same as the difference between 100 and 83, which I have normal. Okay, so let me show you this in practice. Right, so I've got my nice little Japanese strap. Yeah, lots of echo. So, as it is, I've got my volumes are switched on. When I rock it forward, yeah, I get my volume swells. Great stuff. So I can bring in my leads as normal, play as normal, blah, 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 blah. Right. Watch when I click this latch now. Keep your eyes on these two and these two. So as I switch it, those two are turned off, those two are turned on. So as this turns on, it brings this on as well, which puts that almost instantaneous level control. So switch it back on. So I've got the same level as my normal rhythm tone, but I got my whammy. Yeah, that took me a while. That did take me a while, guys. So let me just show you on the pedal board again, just what I've done with the whammy and the expression. Yeah, just in case you want to know. Okay, so here's my whammy. Yeah, there's my settings. If I go to assign expression, so expression, which is the heel to toe, yeah, or toe to heel, actually, in this way. Yeah, I assign my pedal. Yeah, so the minimum range, the maximum range is normal. But in my expression, sorry, in my latch, yeah, I've got those. Okay, so I've made sure I've put the switch on to switch rather than heel to toe. I've inverted the range. Yeah, latch relation I've got on. I have to make sure that with my whole tone ampere press 2, I had to make sure that was on. All right. I tell you what I have found out though is you can use just normal foot switches. I mean, I've got one here from an old Jet City amp. And another amp which I had. It's more down to the cable that you have to make sure you have the TPS, is it? Where you got the multiple lines on it for the two different inputs in the expression. Right. Then I go to expression. Yeah. And this is the EQ now. So EQ again. Assign the expression pedal. What I have to make sure with this one is on expression 2, go to page 2 and assign the bypass. I thought, what the hell is bypass? Why isn't that working? It's the output bypass that you want assigned in the same sort of way. So, yeah, that baffled me. I was determined to try and get it working. One thing you got to remember though is, remember after you finish using your whammy, yeah, to switch your volume back on. Otherwise, you won't get your volume boost put back in. So once you've finished using your whammy, click on your latch then to take you out of whammy, basically whammy function. Yeah, and then you'll have your volume back on and your volume swells again. If Neural get their act together and just do the simple change of enabling that volume to, I mean, I have seen people doing it using the gain function, but what if Neural get their acting together and enable the volume part to be able to assign the scenes, it'd be a lot easier. You'd be able to, what you could do then is you could just have the same sort of functionality and same setup here, but if you had the assign the scenes, then what you'd have to do then, when you come out of your whammy scene, you click on your other scene, and then that will bring the volumes back on again. But the problem is when you switch between scene to scene to scene to scene, that was what was getting to me. Was I was swapping from scene to scene when I was trying to save it, and I saved it, but then I go to swap with the other scene and swap back in, and it's still off. it was just a pain in the backside. But hopefully that has solved a little bit of an issue for you guys. Whether you want to use it for whammy, whether you want to use it then for wah-wah, all sorts of different things you could do now if you've got like that. If you do want to download this patch, I'll share this from my normal DaBearworld profile. I don't charge for any of my patches, guys. Just help yourselves to them. This is I've gone back to using this. It was my old gigging rig, but I used another one, and now I'm going back to it again. But anyway, so this is mine, and it's based off a good old Plexi and a Vox AC30. So yeah, feel free to download this, guys, and emulate and change as you want. Anyway, catch you again soon. I've got my soloist, which I'm going to be doing a video very soon. So until then, goodbye.